Hi, everybody. This is Senator Susie Oppenheimer with a report from the New York State Senate. And today we're going to have a topic. You know, I try and find topics that I think are going to be of interest to the people of Westchester. And today we have a topic which I think is probably of interest to every woman in this country. And we're looking for where women are going to be going in the next century. Well, actually in this century, in the 21st century. And we have with us on my far right, we have Susan Tolliver, and her role is chair and professor of the sociology department of Iona College. And in the middle here we have Dr. Penelope Moore, and she's associate professor in the social work department at Iona College. And even though they're in different departments, they do work closely together and working on this project called the Women's Agenda for the 21st Century. So, thank you both very much for being here. And how did you, well, let's start, okay, with Susan first. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to this project. But first, tell me a little bit about you, like where you came from.
All right. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York, and I live currently in Stamford, Connecticut with my husband and my 17-year-old teenage son. I've been an employee of the college for more than 20 years now, having held both faculty and administrative positions. And since arriving at the college in the late 1980s, I have worked intimately and intensely with the Women's Studies program at the college, engaged very actively in a number of programs and projects under the auspices of Women's Studies. And Penelope Moore and I have worked together in connection with the Women's Studies department, building that program over the years to its current state. And we also collaborate on research efforts. We have some publications to our credit and are continuing along that vein, and are very excited that next month is Women's History Month, and we will get to co-host and participate in a number of events that the college will sponsor through a variety of different offices and through our Iona College Arts Council. So we're very much excited to be here today and excited for what will be going on in Westchester County at Iona College next month.
And under Women's Studies, what kind of a curricula is that? I mean, what courses are offered, and is that the sole area that you are responsible for, or are there other sociology classes that you teach?
I teach a number of sociology classes. I'm the social theorist within the department, and I teach classes in that area, as well as my other specialty areas, which are race and ethnic relations and sex and gender. In terms of the Women's Studies program, it's an interdisciplinary minor program that draws students from a variety of different major departments in the college who have an interest in women and women's research, and they can take an array of courses related to things like health and politics and a number of other topical subject areas that have a primary focus on women and gender roles.
Have you ever had a male in the class?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and I encourage male students in our the Sex and Gender Roles course, which I'm teaching currently. It provides a rich balance of intellectual perspective and enlivens the classroom discourse. So we very much enjoy that, very much so.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with my daughter today over lunch about women being from Mars.
Ah, yes, well.
And the men from Venus, and she was decrying the fact that she could not understand half of the guys that she's dated. She's a single woman.
Yes, yes.
And I said, better go read the book. There is a difference, and this
Absolutely.
explains some of the differences.
Absolutely. And there are so many differences that exist between the sexes. Differences in terms of healthcare, differences in terms of family roles, differences in terms of friendship and the importance and centrality of friendship in their lives, and the types of friendship as well. One of my research areas that I'm particularly fond of and engaged in. So the similarities are perhaps more numerous than we'd like to think about, but the differences are also there, those nuances of difference that make life interesting, and that raise some important political and other agenda kinds of topics deserving of research focus.
Well, a funny one came up a few weeks ago with my husband. He was telling me about a problem, and immediately I go into intense problem solving. And he says, I don't want that. I want you to listen to me and empathize. You don't have to immediately go into problem solving. Of course, I had read that in the book. Oh my God, I'm the test case.
Now that sounds like a role reversal going on there for sure.
Oh, really?
It's usually men who jump in and want to be task-oriented and solve the problem, and it's women who want to appreciate the fuller experience and to express empathy and understanding in a situation. And again, two talents of the two sexes that bring different strengths to the table.
So interesting. Great. We're going to have fun with this topic. Now, tell us, how did you know that old story about the boy asking his mother, Mom, where did I come from? That's what I was about to say to Penelope. That's why and the mom thinks, well, he's 9 years old, but maybe it's time since he's asked that I should, do the birds and bee routine and teach him a little bit about how children are born. And so she's explaining rather, cautiously, carefully, the subject. And after about 5 minutes, this little boy is getting very, very wiggly. And finally he says, Mom, please, I just want to know, is it Philadelphia or is it Pittsburgh? He just wanted to know where he was born.
Well, let's say that.
Where'd you come from, Penelope?
Let's say that it wasn't a straight line from Brooklyn to New Rochelle. I originally grew up in the South, in South Carolina and Virginia, and I came to New York for graduate school. And as the story goes, you get the first job out of graduate school, you stay and pursue postgraduate studies, and you get married along the way, and then you have to move out of the Manhattan apartment because it's too small after the first child. And
no, I hung in. I was still in that apartment, and I was pregnant with my fourth, at which point I said, it's my sanity with this apartment.
Well, maybe you had more than a one-bedroom. So we moved, my family and I moved to New Rochelle. It's been about 16 years. And it turned out that I live very close to Iona College. And so I was very pleased and appreciative and blessed to have been able to work there. And since being in the social work department, we're a relatively small department, and I just emphasize that because there is opportunity to really know and appreciate those that I work with, but those faculty members that I work with. And it's been a wonderful work situation, personally, professionally, and in every way. And because of our size, it is necessary to work across disciplines and Dr. Tolliver was someone that I met early on, and in fact, I have to say, chaired my tenure committee, so that it's been a wonderful collaborative mentoring slash professional relationship that's grown, and as she indicated, expanded to include mutual research interest and so on. And I came to the Women's Studies program, I guess, shortly after I came to the college in the fall of 1998. I think I first became the interim coordinator when Dr. Tolliver was on sabbatical. And upon her return, she became coordinator again, and we've subsequently changed roles, and so it's just been one of those ongoing, mutually gratifying opportunities to work together. And with respect to my role as coordinator of Women's Studies in particular, I work with a wonderful group of colleagues across disciplines, as Dr. Tolliver referenced earlier, so that we're able to tap the full resources of the college community and the talents and interest of faculty, both senior faculty and newer, younger faculty, to bring forth a rich and rather interesting series of programs, certainly during the month of March, but we also have an ongoing, I think in one life, it was the Friday brown bag lunch, that type of gathering of women to discuss women's issues that used to take place on a Friday afternoon, and over the years it's shifted to Tuesday afternoon. So now it's only Tuesdays, and we have that opportunity to present a forum and a place for faculty to come and to be educated on a range of current and topical issues. We invite male faculty to present as well, and we have male faculty on the committee, the planning committee for the programs. And I think that in general, as we were talking about this opportunity to spend time with you today, one of the things that we reflected on is the importance of our focus to be as inclusive as possible. And so in doing justice to gender issues, it's important to have all perspectives on the table. And I think we do as well as we can with that, given, of course, the natural constraints of it not being a full independent department in its own right. But perhaps that's something that is in the future.
Can someone major in women's studies, or is that not feasible yet?
It's a minor.
It's a minor at Iona College. At other universities across the country, one can major in it, and there are a number of graduate departments that offer the doctoral degree in women's studies today. So it's a field that really in the last 20 to 30 years has seen an incredible amount of growth, and that growth has been absolutely essential as a catalyst to embracing more women in academia and to mentoring women through their academic programs, both within women's studies and outside of women's studies. So it really has had a multiplicative effect in terms of the effectiveness of women in higher education, both on the student and on the professional level.
Well, I think that experience within academia is replicated in law, in medicine, in veterinary. I mean,
Yes.
everywhere we're seeing huge numbers. In fact, I read, I think in veterinary and medicine, something way over half, something like 70% of all the people graduating now are female. Which is
a wonderful
nice.
change.
Sure,
A wonderful
yes.
change. Healthcare is still a male-dominated profession, particularly when we look at the status of males and females in that profession. Interesting to look at this area of healthcare. There's so many things that we can say about this, and Penelope and I have had recent conversations about this area and other areas as well. With healthcare transitioning to include more women, we still see predominance of males in the higher paid positions as well as in the more powerful positions within this occupational sphere. And it's an important one too in terms of the differences of the experiences of women as people who need the services of the healthcare profession as well. I'm optimistic that as women increase their numbers and their power and their visibility in this field, that women will be better served in the field of healthcare, and that women's issues and concerns will make a difference in terms of directing research and the focus of concerns that the healthcare profession has. There are so many illnesses that women suffer at a greater rate than men, despite the fact that women seek medical attention at a higher rate than do men. And there's just a whole list of psychosocial obstacles to the level of care that women are able to expect and to receive from the healthcare profession. So this is one of many areas of concern for us.
In our conversation, we had also just talked about the importance of mentoring, and I'm thinking about that in particular
Absolutely.
in relation to some of the initiatives that are taking place in the community around mentoring in medicine.
Yes.
I was just speaking with a young physician today who sponsors a program that really reaches out to young people in high school to get them to expose them and to increase interest and to initiate that process so that they have medicine on the panoramic view of areas that they can move into. And then recently, just in the fall, there was a very large and successful event at the county center. It was entitled Dare to be a Doctor, which was sponsored by the county health department. And again, Iona was present as a vendor at that event. We manned a table and shared information about a wonderful project we are involved in having to do with knowing one's family health history and the importance of knowing family health history. But at that event, there were close to 300-400 or more young people and their families who came out. It was a wonderful turnout. I think that the thrust of our conversation is that women are best positioned to assume those roles of mentoring to ensure that the next generation has other choices that they are able to exercise. And that's just one example, but I think that would apply across the board in other professional endeavors as well.
One of the areas of important focus for women that's been identified by my discipline of sociology has been the importance of mentoring moving into the 21st century across a variety of different fields of endeavor. And Dr. Moore and I have done some writing and research in the importance of mentoring in the academy, both in terms of mentoring students and in terms of mentoring young professionals as well. But if I were to identify a significant area for continued research and popular focus, it would be mentoring in the workplace. I've done extensive writing on the work-family connection. And in my book, Black Families in Corporate America, I talk about the importance of mentoring to ensure more women making their way up the corporate ladder, more women making their way through the glass ceilings of a variety of different occupational spheres. And what seems to be tested in the world of work is the ability of women to mentor other women much more prolifically and much more effectively than women have ever been mentored in past years. So if we look at some of the Fortune 500, if we look at some of the Fortune 100 companies that have women in high positions of power, particularly in the CEO positions, we see a tremendous movement and a tremendous growth of women in high-level positions coming up behind them. And I think women as mentors is just an incredible area that needs more exploration and more support.
Well, we today I was talking on issues similar to that, and that's a program that the governor has left out of his budget, but we're going to work very hard to get it back in, and it's called the Teacher Mentor Program. And we find that if we do not have a mentor, with those young teachers coming right out of school,
Yes.
and they're bright and bushy-tailed, and they want to do it all, and they get into a difficult situation, maybe an inner-city school or a rural school, and if they don't have someone helping them, they more likely than not are going to drop out of the teaching profession by their 5th year.
Absolutely.
So we were putting our pitch in because the whole program for the budget would have been $10 million, which is not a lot in a $21 billion budget. But we have a need for our teachers. We have, and if we don't mentor them, they're going to come right through. In 5 years, they'll be out the door.
Yes, yes.
So I have to assume that that is not an uncommon situation.
That's right. And so much of the research that looks at what makes students successful and what makes teachers successful, mentoring is always a topic that comes up as absolutely essential to assuring the success of both students and teachers on the K through 12 level as well as on the level of higher education. And in terms of teachers, once they get out there, as you say, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to do good service with their children in their classrooms, without having that helping hand, that guidance that a more seasoned professional can help with, to help them negotiate social networks and also to help them negotiate the politics of education, as well as the actual work that they do in the classroom. They're much less likely to be successful, to achieve within their professions, and indeed to survive within their professions. So it's absolutely a key thing to keep an eye on moving through the 21st century, the importance of mentoring and women as mentors.
Especially, I think, as well, given the range of diversity factors that are now at play in our public schools in particular, that it's a tremendous job. And I think that that implicit in that is a range of other social service concerns that that need to be in place in order to support the educational institutions as well. So
do you
it's
think
absolutely critical.
The glass ceiling will be shattered in the 21st century?
Well, I'm hopeful. You never know. We're certainly moving in the direction of women making greater strides. And I want to believe in this new era in Washington, that all things are possible, things that we haven't dreamed of in past eras. So I wouldn't be totally surprised if we did see significant headway in this area. I'm hopeful and optimistic.
I kind of think of it as one ceiling at a time. Because I think that so much of the progress that's been made has been the incremental approach, and given our own political system with the turnover in office every whatever a term limit might be, there's always the potential for the undoing of previous gains. So I think that the victories that have been won have been hard fought and won, and the fight continues to sustain. And then I think you need a lot more momentum to move forward, to reach another level. So I think that I'm just cautious about the idea of the ceiling and looking more at where there might be some penetration in certain arenas where women are able to move, to take a stand and work in a way that represents that they're at the table in a not less than position.
Related to that thought, my big concern is that because in our society today we've reached a certain level of success among women in a variety of different fields and areas of social life, that it's more difficult for individuals, both in their personal and professional lives, to recognize how far there still is to go. If we look at the younger generation of today, the 18 to 25-year-olds, and the world that they're born into as compared to the world that their parents or their grandparents were born into, there's a great deal more gender equity in the world today and in their experiences that we had in past generations. So my concern is that we become content with the level of success that we've had so far and the current state of gender equality today, and become complacent and don't keep our focus on the prize, which in my view would be absolute gender equality, so that there would be equity across the board, equity in terms of the family, equity in the political sphere, equity in the world of work, et cetera, et cetera.
Equity in pay.
Equity in pay, absolutely. We are still at a point where women earn 76 to 78% of the income of males, and that's even when we control for education and experience. An analogy that I like to use for my students is, imagine that if men and women had income or earning goals, and it takes women a little bit longer. Men get there in 3/4 of the time that it takes for women. So that means men could work a 4-day week, men could work 3 days out of a month, men could work from January to September to realize the same earnings that it takes a woman a full year to work, working 9 to 5 every week of the year, and so forth. And so we're still a long way from equity in terms of pay.
And as a social worker, the concern then being that oftentimes women in those positions are operating as single head of households.
Yeah.
They are dealing with being the caregiver to either young children as well as aging parents. They are still in the position of working nonstop, whether at the office or at home, and I guess the point is they are doing it all, and recognizing that there is that inherent stress and tension and potential threat to a working woman's own well-being to be in that situation.
Thank you both. I'm getting signs like crazy. Thank you, Penelope.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Susan.
Thank
this
you.
has been very
You're most
interesting.
welcome.
Yes.
And thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening.